Hey, welcome to episode 144 of Fresh Air at 5. In this episode, you're going to hear me talk about artificial intelligence, as Chris Nessie talks about that, and I reflect. Talks about creativity with Sarah Candela and Rich Kirkpatrick, actually. We've also got tech tools for teachers, Teach Happier, and that's the week. That's it. And this episode is coming out a couple days later. So, without further ado, enjoy Fresh Air at 5 144.
I'm Shanna Martin, host of the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to exercise by walking about my neighborhood to take in podcast content, then reflect in an unedited video, which I finally post to my Twitter channel. This podcast will be a regular collection of the audio from these selfie videos. You can follow me on Twitter at Fresh Air at 5 or check out my website, briancarpenter.com, for other content I have created and collected. Hey, PLN, good morning to you. It is Monday, October 30th, 2023. We got ourselves a near full moon up there behind me in the sky. Maybe you saw that. No, it's up there. It's right up there. There we go. And I'm out walking. It's plus 3 degrees Celsius, bundled up because it is feeling like winter here. And it's on its way to winter, but it seems like it's a lot cooler than typical for this time of year. We had some rain last week, but then it has dried up, and we've had even a few mornings where it's been below 0 degrees Celsius. So, winter's coming, seasons are changing, and not as fast as last year, which I'm thankful for, because it affects the nature around us more slowly and gradually, like it should be. Fish in lakes and things like that. So yes. All right. This morning as I'm walking, I listened to the House of Ed Tech episode 235 with Chris Nessie as he brings us AI tools. And are you overwhelmed with AI tools, and what can you do to deal with that? So Chris, some practical thoughts as you share with us a number of ideas. You've been doing so over this past year with AI, artificial intelligence, and I appreciate the thought process that you're going through. That, just like you have in your podcast, technology isn't difficult, just give it a try. AI is not difficult, just give it a try. We have to wrestle with the ethical and educational, pedagogical thoughts about AI and how and where we should use it, and will students use it, and the initial reaction of, oh, that's cheating. Well, we've been cheating forever and ever, and as teachers we cheat actually quite a bit. This guy right here looks for resources, finds them, adapts them, and makes them his own over time. Nick from Got Tech said, that reference letter that you copied 10 years ago that's yours now? Yes, that's the same kind of thing. All right, hang on. The last thing for October 30th, 2023. I just walking along the street here, I just ran into a colleague in the district. She's an EA, and she's out walking her husky early in the morning. Her name's Jen. So, yes, it's nice to connect with my neighbors, even at this time of day. Another colleague of mine, can't believe I get up at this time of day. Her name is Ollie, and she's a fellow MyPETA executive member, and so it was fun to see her the other day too. We were working together on the MyPETA conference, and we spent the weekend together with other executive members working on that, and we got through it. It was challenging, but we all got to remember that we're great white sharks. And yes. Okay, continuing my thoughts on episode 235 of Fresh Air at 5. That's wrong. Episode 235 of the House of EdTech with Chris Nesi, as he brings us some coping strategies for dealing with our overwhelm with AI. And how do we do it? You know, the more you spend time in a space, the more you become comfortable with that space. Completely analog world compared to the artificial intelligence world was my overwhelm when I started fishing here in British Columbia. I got the book of fishing regulations, and it was all a different language to me. I didn't understand locations and what kind of fish I was able to keep and catch. And of the 5 Pacific salmon that come back to the rivers, which one is which, and how do I tell when I catch a fish? Well, the only way to get into this fishing business here is to get into it and try. And yes, we're going to make mistakes. We don't intentionally make mistakes when it's talking about the retention of coho salmon and Chinook and things like that. But those mistakes were important for me understanding so I can be a better fisherman. So like being a better fisherman, being a better technology user, you got to spend time in the space. That's all I got. Have a good day. Bye. Hey, PLN, October 31st, 2023. Happy Halloween to you. Hope you're doing well today. And I hope you've gotten some rest, because tonight could be long, you know, handing out candy and connecting with neighbors and going to parties and all those things that happen on Halloween. That is, you know, it's a holiday that happens. It's not really a holiday. It's in the midst of our work week, but we make time to be able to play and be together. There's a whole lot of other stuff that goes along with Halloween. I'm about the community, about watching people and their creativity as they make their costumes. And what do they come up with and how do they get there? My daughter and I, at the last minute, because I'm not a planner for a costume, I'd like to get a big, you know, costume that I can climb into, like an inflatable or something like that, but can't be bothered to spend the money. So for me, it's typically a last minute thing that I go, my Halloween costume will be, and my daughter and I went last night to the store because she's like, Dad, I want a Halloween costume. So we went to the store and went to Party City, and we were looking at all the stuff, and there's like skeletons and skulls and all kinds of inappropriate costumes that I would not let my daughter wear to school, that she didn't even want to. But the point is that she saw something. She's like, Dad, we could be like, why did the chicken cross the road? She found a chicken hat. So she came up with an idea. And I'm like, okay. And I got my Cricut cutter, and we went and bought some t-shirts and some vinyl, and we made t-shirts of Ask Me Why the Chicken Crossed the Road costumes. So it's pretty simple, but you know, it's going to allow us to engage with people around us, because they're going to ask us a question, and we're going to have an answer for them. Like, so I got my list of all the Why the Chicken Crossed the Road jokes on a webpage. All right, that's just a solution, but I just want to share that because I'm pretty excited about it. All right, that feeds right into what I listened to this morning as I listened to the Optimalist podcast with Sarah Candela. And right now I can't remember the episode number, but I'll put it in the video here and also in my show notes, in the tweet with Rich Kirkpatrick. Coming right back. Hang on. All right. The last thing, actually, for October 31st, 2023, is I'm going to bring you episode 26 of the Optimalist podcast with Sarah Candela. And she has on guest Rich Kirkpatrick, who is a creative musician and person that makes and creates and shares their creativity, has written some books. And Rich and Sarah's conversation was so inspiring to me this morning. The title of this episode is Creativity is as Personal Growth. And how do we, show off our growth, and what do we ourselves through creative means? And, Rich has written some books, a book, and he talks about how creativity is an innate thing within each one of us as human beings. That's what makes us human. And I think that's absolutely true. I see myself as a creative person, but I don't see myself as a musician or a fine artist. But looking at myself and watching myself go through my days of how I problem solve, you know, the 4 C's are so critical, I believe, in our world today, that we identify them because they're necessary skills that each of us should have to some degree or another. Leadership requires us to be able to look at big pictures and small things, look at information and to be able to make decisions and to connect and collaborate with people. I really dig the idea that Rich proposes of the robot and the wizard as both being creatives, but that we have to be able to bridge between these two worlds and be able to, you know, get things done compared to wandering around making and doing all kinds of crazy things. So yes, fantastic, inspiring. I encourage you to listen to this. If you are a creative person, this might, you know, feed into you. If you're not a creative person, take a listen, because you probably are a creative person, but just you don't see yourself that way. And listen to what Sarah and Rich have to say. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you. Okay, bye. Hey, PLN, November 2nd, 2023. Good morning to you. And it is a pouring wet morning here. I got out of bed and I actually had to force myself to get out the door so I could get out and get some exercise this morning and walk and listen to a podcast. So here I am. My walk might be shorter depending on how soaked I am and when I make a corner, and see, you know, if I'm still dry enough to carry on. But yes, this morning I listened to the Teach Better, or no, this morning I listened to Teach Happier with Suzanne Daly. She brings us a bonus episode that was is an episode that she's reading from a blog that she wrote that's on the Teach Better website. So that's why the Teach Better came up. Suzanne, thank you so much for your thoughts as you share about Lost and Found. And you talk about, in this episode, about grief and about how we get to, the honor of grief is that we are honoring the person that we have lost through death that has left us, because we've had the opportunity to interact so much with that person. You know, it's a privilege to walk alongside people, and in their last days, you know, as they go through the stuff that they go through, is only a small part of the life, hopefully, that you've been able to live with that person. I thank you for, you know, reminding us that, you know, we can take them along with us. The cookies that you share, the cookie recipe, I think from your mom, or, you know, your friend who passed away, the librarian, and you show her picture when you're at conferences and are reminded of the words that she said. So important. All right, take a listen to this. You know, if you, this is part of our life, and if we ignore it, then that's not good. So I've lost some in the past, and I don't like it. None of us do. But what we do is we carry on in their likeness. Yes, there's some guys on a fishing trip I was on recently that were on a fishing memorial weekend for a friend that had passed away. So cool to see them doing what their friend enjoyed doing. Thanks. Talk to you. The last thing for November 2, 2023. It's the last thing because I'm soaking wet and it is really, really raining. So I'm going to go home and get a warm cup of coffee. I have been out, I've got some fresh air. So I didn't walk. Oh, I'm probably only walking 2.5 kilometers today. I listened to, this is my second podcast, episode 163 of Tech Tools for Teachers with Shanna Martin and Fuzz Martin, as they bring us Elementary, which is a website that teaches creative writing as well as coding in computer science. And it combines the two things so that as we build the story, we need to animate the story. And that's done through block coding of scenes and characters and animations and things like that to go along with it. So it's not just creative writing, it's not just coding, it's the mashup of the two things. Fantastic. Take a listen. I'm going to pass this along to our computer science teacher and see if he is interested in bringing in a little LA into his world. All right, that's all I got. I gotta go home and get these wet clothes off because it is pouring rain. I've been clearing gutters as I've been walking along here so the water can go down instead of pooling up on the road. Okay, happy Thursday. Bye-bye. As my one word for 2021 is appreciate, I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific podcast episodes in the show notes for your learning convenience. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoyed this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can also be found on Voice Ed Radio. Your voice is right here, and on the Education Podcast Network, Podcasts for Educators, Podcasts by Educators. I hope you have a fantastic day and get some fresh air before the day is out, and take care of yourself because you're worth it.